Hi, and welcome to class today. We are looking at a science lesson. This is in your workbook on page 60. I do want to point out to you that this is not my article. The copyright belongs to K-12 Reader, but they have resources online that you can use to learn about all sorts of topics in K through 12 education. So this article is about an ecosystem, and I want to read this for you, just give you some pointers here, and then we're going to look at these pages in your workbook, which are at this point blank. So we'll be adding to those. I'll probably break this into a series of videos, but let's start by reading this passage about ecosystems. Ecosystems. Cross-curricular focus, life science. An ecosystem is all the things that interact in a specific area, whether they are living or non-living. Some examples of non-living things that support life in an ecosystem are light, air, soil, and water. Living things are the plants and animals, called organisms, that use those resources. Each of the specific ecosystems in the world has its own conditions created by the non-living things. These conditions determine what kinds of living things will be able to thrive there. Organisms can only thrive where their needs are being met. Everything in an organism's environment has an effect on it. One ecosystem that allows many different kinds of organisms to thrive is a temperate zone. It is an area where the conditions never become too hot or too cold. All the living things in an ecosystem are called a community. All of one specific kind of organism living in a community is called a population. All the tree frogs in a rainforest community are one population within the community. All the white birch trees are another population within the same community. All the jaguars are yet another rainforest community population. All living organisms perform certain life processes. They take in nutrients like air, sunlight, water, and food. They use energy from those nutrients to grow and develop. They release energy by doing work and moving. They release waste products. They react to things in their environment. They reproduce, producing offspring or babies that are similar to themselves. I want to go back through this passage one paragraph at a time and annotate that. If you've been with me in the reading class, you've learned about annotating. But today I want to highlight definitions. I want to show you a little trick for defining words you may not know. Anytime a passage has words in bold, like ecosystem, organism, community, those are the only ones. I want to add a few to this one. Let me scan here quickly. I should have done this as I read. Population, life processes, offspring. Okay, so let me read this first paragraph again, and let's see if we can come up with the definition of ecosystem and organisms. An ecosystem is, okay, as soon as they say is, I know that I have a linking verb. So here comes the definition. An ecosystem is all, get a little bit lighter, all the things that interact in a specific area, living or non-living. So there is the definition of ecosystem. It's all the things that are working together in any given area. And then they go on to give me some non-living examples. Living things are the plants and animals called organisms. So that's the definition. Organisms are living things. They're the plants and animals that use the resources. And then it goes on to tell me that each of the specific ecosystems in the world has its own conditions created by the non-living things. So the non-living things create the environment, and then certain organisms will thrive in that environment. The word temperate, I do want to highlight that one. What is a temperate zone? It is, so there's that linking verb, an area where the conditions never become too hot or too cold. So I can figure out the definition of that word. All of these words are so important to me. I need to know what those meanings are. And this is not working, is it? I'm sorry. Let's try this. Ecosystem is a word I should know. Okay, I'm having computer issues again. Ecosystem is a word I should know. Organisms, a word I should know. Temperate zone is a word or a phrase I should know. Community. So let's see if we can figure out the definition of community. Are called, so there's the verb. What are called a community? All the living things in an ecosystem are called a community. All of one specific kind of organism living in a community is a population. So here's what they're telling me. Put it in your own words. We have ecosystem. And I'm sorry guys if you hear the dog coughing. I'm not sure what's going on with her. But we're going to have to get that checked out. So within the ecosystem, you have a community. So here's a community. And you would have another community, possibly. But within the community, you have a population of frogs. Within that same community, you may have a population of owls. That's a separate population, all the owls in that community. So that's sort of a visual of how this works. The ecosystem is made up of communities, and the communities are made up of populations. So the word population is definitely that I should know. Life processes. What are some of the life processes they're talking about here? They take in nutrients. They use energy to grow and develop. They release energy by doing work and moving. They release waste products. They react to things in their environment. They reproduce. And offspring is another vocabulary word. What is offspring? How does it define it? Offspring are babies that are similar to themselves. So there is a lot in this passage, a lot of new words. The HiSET test is about 45% life science from what my information says. So life science is incredibly important to us as students. We need to understand lots of different aspects of life science. If you haven't already watched the video about cells, I'm backing through the material. That's another one that you need to know about. Those vocabulary words are so very important. Okay, I'm going to stop this video and I will come back and we'll look at page 61.